The idea that the NBA got smaller during the three-point revolution was always overblown. Sleeker, faster, rangier? Yes. More skilled? Definitely. But smaller?
No.
In fact, it's a special time for bigs. You could easily make the argument that playing today, we've got the best passing big guy of all time, the best driving big guy of all time, 3 of the best shooting big guys of all time, and a slew of freakish phenoms that we don't even have time to mention. Everywhere you look on League Pass, there's a unicorn. Well, it seems the unicorn herd has grown by 2 this season as both Chet Holmgren of the Thunder and Victor Wembanyama of the Spurs have quickly established themselves as forces to be reckoned with. These 2 players, who are ranked first and second among rookies in points, rebounds, and blocks, are firmly at the top of the Rookie of the Year conversation. More importantly, they seem to want to destroy each other, and I have never been happier. Our first taste of this rivalry came in the 2021 FIBA U19 World Cup, and they've gone head-to-head a number of times since then, each time giving us baffling images of beanpole ball handlers cashing threes or encounters at the rim that clearly have a little extra oomph behind them. This blossoming rivalry is fascinating because of the many ways that Holmgren and Wembanyama compare and in the key ways that they contrast. Counting stats alone don't do the job. You have to be specific when you talk about the way each player is used before you crow about their efficiencies arguing in this or that direction. On offense, Chet and Wemby blend a near identical amount of rim activity and efficiency with face-up game, and personnel plays a big part in how that plays out. Holmgren's usage rate is nearly 11 percentage points lower than Wemby's, largely because he joined a team where the assembled puzzle pieces had traced the shape of a certain type of player. The Thunder leapt forward last season, pestering the entire league while still clearly missing something. What they desperately needed was something that is not easily found. Someone who could strengthen their backline on defense without compromising their identity on offense. A rim protector who could also space the floor for their funky, physical drivers, work in ball screens as a popper or a lob threat when needed, and provide some connectivity in the way of passing the ball.
Sound familiar?
Chet's addition checked all of those boxes and catapulted the Thunder into the top 5 of offense and defense, and through 49 games, a tie for first place in the West. On offense, Chet is an extremely clever screener with the versatility to dive to the rim when he detects an overeager coverage or pop and cash one from 3 if the defense is clogging the driver. He's rolling and spotting up more than Victor and capitalizing on those chances. Chet's flashes of self-creation in the post or inverted pick and rolls have been tantalizing, but he's had the luxury of picking his spots a bit more carefully. The Thunder frequently love to try and get a switch on this middle ball screen so that he can attack a smaller player from the foul line area. But guards and bigs alike are cooked by that hard drive to the right and left shoulder spin. He's also shown that a consistent dribble pull-up game is only a question of when, not if. Overall, Chet shot the cover off the ball to start the season, and Vic has had jaw-dropping moments, but has mostly been streaky from 3. Victor has had a tougher diet of shots so far, both because of personality and also because of situation. Both players are slinky contortionists off the bounce who can scrunch their bodies and really lower their dribble, but Wemby is definitely the more colorful and audacious experimenter, particularly behind the three-point line. He doesn't benefit from having a legion of handlers who can bend the defense and really pass the ball in the way that Chet does. Only 2.6% of Chet's made threes on the season have been unassisted, whereas that number is a whopping 19% for Wemby. To start the year, the Spurs were stacking too many conditional players on top of one another. The ball wasn't moving and the floor was clogged. This led to a lot of situations where Victor was settling over the top, and while it's not a total excusal for his meh shooting from 3, it certainly played a role. What's become clear is that if Wembanyama is given room to work, spectacular things will happen. Take a look at the way Vic's driving game has changed over the first 4 months of the season. That slice of his offensive pie has grown substantially, and so has his efficiency. Rejiggering the lineup gave Vic some freedom to explore the studio space, and in that freedom, I think some deeper truths about his game have revealed themselves. We knew that Wemby was unusually coordinated for his size. We knew that he could handle the ball, and we knew that he was incredibly flexible. But what this stretch of action has shown is that some aspects of his frame and athleticism were maybe a bit underrated. A big one is that he has a highly developed sense for exactly where his body is in space at all times. This is especially apparent when he's catching long passes in traffic and using those soft, massive hands to guide the ball into the basket. Another is balance, and I think that it might be the critical trait that the basketball gods decided to pair with his size and coordination. It allows him to extend into spaces where other players just can't go and still exhibit exceptional touch and control. Watch Victor square up with Brook Lopez, who at 7'1" and 280 plus pounds is one of the biggest players in the NBA, and use his lean strength to not only carve his way towards the rim, but also stay balanced enough to maintain control as he goes over the top. Now, without the ball, there are shocking sequences where he's using his speed, deceleration, and balance to move like an off-ball wing. This dude is 7'4". Watch him sell this baseline cut, which he now has the space for, and then slam on the brakes in a way that surprises Tobias Harris. Or this play where I doubt Giannis in his life ever truly expected to get viciously backcut by a giraffe. And we don't really have time for it here, but an under-discussed, terrifying wrinkle of this is the fact that Victor could become an elite passer. What the hell is going on? I generally try to keep it together, but I'm wondering if he has a real chance to challenge Derrick Rose as the youngest league MVP ever. That's how insane this is. Defensively, I maintain that this rookie class could be one of, if not the best class in decades, and for two anchors of this quality to enter the league at the same time is remarkable. As of today, Wemby is leading the NBA in blocks at 3.2 per game, and Chet is not far behind in the top 5 at 2.6. Defensive differential is a cool stat that tracks how, on average, the presence of a defensive player impacts the typical percentage of a shooter whenever that defender is contesting the shot. Among players who have contested at least 200 shots within 6 feet of the basket, Holmgren and Wembanyama are both in the top 10 at -11 and -10.6. For Victor, again, it's been about situation. There were good reasons to play a sturdy, seasoned big beside him. It allowed Vic to roam as a weak side disruptive force, shrinking opportunities for skip passes, but mainly it would keep him out of the direct line of fire. Initially, that meant that we saw fewer instances of him directly encountering ball screens. He still does plenty of roaming, but in large part, those days are over. Because of how much bigger, longer, and faster he is, Vic is making disruptive out-of-area plays more often. He's constantly reaching across the room to drink other people's milkshake. He's very capable of meeting ambitious drivers in the danger zone, but typically allowing drivers to go past him because his wingspan can erase gaps so quickly. What's more amusing to watch is the way that Wemby has already developed enough of a reputation to spook people merely by being present. He turns patience into hurriedness, confidence into indecision. And that's been noticeably true even for the best scorers in the league. And this is defensive player of the year type stuff. Anthony Simons turns the corner on this screen and just hastily jacks it. Paul Reed gets in a situation ripe for an ISO here, and he won't even look at Wembanyama, much less attack. He gets the ball to Tyrese Maxey, who you can see turns the corner and thinks about it for a second, and then shoots an uneasy runner, a shot that he's typically a whiz at. Chet is less of a glaring obstacle to work around and a bit more subtle in the way that he lurks and then smothers fires like a wet-weighted blanket once they pop up. He's like an alligator wading in the water, and by the time he's opened his jaws, it's over. To best articulate how Chet is able to do this, I'm going to throw it to one of his most outspoken supporters leading up to that draft.
I think the key for Chet is just timing. Like, so much of blocking shots is not just about physical abilities. It's about like understanding when to jump, when not to, when to stay on the ground. What makes Chet so special is he doesn't really have to jump all that often given his wingspan. So he doesn't have to buy the pump fakes. He can just wait till the guy's going up for sure and then extend and block his shot. I would say it's a combination of length, basketball IQ, and toughness.
Holmgren can get buried by bully fives at times, but in general, he has very directionally mobile hips with the ability to get vertical or be ambidextrous when reaching to make a play on the ball. And like Shark said, he's tough as they come.
But what I always go back to with Chet was he played Emily Bates last year. And at one point he like crosses up Emily and then dunks on him. And he's just yelling at Emily and pointing at his heart. And it was kind of silly, but it was also like, that's true. I'm tougher than you. I have more heart than you. And that's a lot of what makes Chet good. He had to come up the hard way. Nothing was ever given to him. He had to take it.
When players are this physically and mentally gifted, this watched over in terms of development, I grant you that tears of pity are hard to shed. But that didn't mean that their opponents simply laid down at their feet and surrender. Quite the opposite, actually. Every interaction with these guys over the years was a chance to tear down their mythology, a chance to market themselves with a viral moment if they got one over. Living with those kinds of stakes will put some scars on your knuckles. Maybe that's why Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren, these two phenomenally special talents with the open road of their careers out in front of them, mirror one another in such an intriguing way. They're both so measured and mellow in their thoughtfulness, in the visible aspects of their day-to-day lives off the court, and when on the court, so ferociously focused on going and claiming what's theirs. My suspicion is that it'll all be theirs in due time. Let me know if you agree.